8. The scale of raw sewage discharges into rivers by England's biggest privatised water company has been revealed in a new interactive map that shows discharges in real time. It comes from Thames Water. They've done it because they had to. An Act of Parliament passed a couple of years ago told the companies to provide this information before 2025. Ashley Smith is from the Windrush Against Sewage Pollution, which is a campaign group of volunteers investigating the pollution of the river Windrush that feeds into the River Thames.
It's a good step forward, and I think it brings an end to the myth that sewage is only spilled into our rivers to protect people's homes from flooding for short periods of time. We can see the extent of the problem now. What we now have to get is the water companies doing something about that. If you see their sewer map at the moment, it's lit up like a very over-enthusiastic Christmas tree. There are so many things going off for many days or weeks on end. There's plenty they can do. They know the problems. They've known some of these problems in our own area since 1996. A lot of it is about leaky sewers that allow water in at this time of year, and they overwhelm the sewage system. It's just a question of spending money. They're very good at the technology. The people on the ground are excellent at their jobs, and we want to see them funded to do it properly.
Let's talk to Catherine Ross, who's Thames Water's Director of Strategy and is on the line. Morning to you.
Good morning.
It is true, isn't it? This is not just an emergency measure. When these discharges happen, it is just to cope with normal life.
Well, let me just correct you at the outset. I mean, we have published this data on our website voluntarily. We're the first water company to do so. We are required to monitor our discharges, but we're not at the moment required to publish it. And we've done it because we really believe in transparency. Well, there's no date yet. The government actually hasn't told water companies yet the date by which they will be required to publish it. So we're really leading the industry in publishing this data.
Just to make it clear, eventually you will be required to publish it, but you've gone early.
That's right. And we think transparency is really important on this because, as Ash says, we know there is an issue here. We know, and we've said this repeatedly, that the discharge of untreated sewage into rivers is completely unacceptable. All of our customers are telling us that. So we've got a strategy which is around speaking up, saying that it's unacceptable, calling it out, opening up, which is publishing data and being more transparent, but perhaps most so cleaning up and really taking action to address those discharges and reduce them.
And that action is what?
Well, there's a lot going on here, and it's a multi-pronged issue. But the first thing to say is we are investing £1.25 billion in this 5-year period between 20 and 2025, an average of £250,000 every single year on maintaining and improving our operational sites. In London, you'll all have heard about the Thames Tideway sewer, a 15-mile new sewer underneath the Thames in London. That's costing £4 billion. That's going to reduce discharges into the tidal Thames by about 95%. Now, we do know there are still some issues, and they're the sort of thing that Ash Smith was just talking about in Oxfordshire. Now, there, one of the most problematic works we know is our Whitney sewage treatment works. We're investing about £8.5 billion in upgrading that Whitney sewage treatment works. At the moment, it treats around 260 litres of sewage every second. When we finish that work, it's going to be treating nearly 400 litres of sewage per second.
And what a lot of the campaigners say is that, yes, you are doing things now, but actually the reason you're having to do them now in this kind of fast and emergency way is because you didn't do them in the past, because too much money was leached away in dividends to your owners, a lot of whom are abroad, pension companies, etc., who don't have any immediate interest in what goes on in the Thames water area. Do you accept that actually a lot of this should have been done many years ago?
Well, let's clear that one up. We've got shareholders who, for the past 5 years in Thames Water, have taken no dividends at all. And in fact, last year they approved a business plan between 2020 and 2025 that's seeing us spending £2 billion more than we're actually able to recover from our customers. Now, our shareholders are actually funding that.
Can I just sort out the business of dividends? Because it's very confusing, because you say that, and you told me that before on the programme, and yet you have report after report that dividends are still paid. Is that because we're talking about different things? So in other words, you do pay money out to the organisations that own you, to pay debts? I mean,
yes.
Right. So yes, that's where the confusion is. Because I'm looking at a headline in a newspaper from a couple of years ago saying that you have paid out a large amount of money in dividends, but it's not what you call dividends.
That's right. So basically our shareholders, they put money into the business with equity, they expect a return on that, and they've actually had no return on that over the past 5 years. They've also lent us money. They've just lent debt to the money in the same way as we would go to a bank.
So it's an interest payment, essentially.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. But I think the point will still remain that in the past you have paid dividends and you've allowed the company to be a source of income for other organisations around the world instead of spending that money locally. And that is why we're in the situation we're in now.
Well, there's a couple of things to say. I mean, the first thing is that, I think you alluded to it before, most of our shareholders are pension funds. And in fact, one of our largest pension funds is the UK University Pension Fund. So not all of this money is going to foreign corporations, it's pension funds, and a lot of that is going into the UK pension funds too. But your underlying point is correct. So there are certainly things that we should have done in the past that, with the benefit of hindsight, we didn't do. We completely accept that the cost of sorting that out is on us. But that isn't going to fix all of the problem. I mean, if what we're really trying to do here is improve the health of our rivers, which is what campaigners and our customers really want to see, we have to accept that only 30% of the river health issue is actually relating to what comes out of our sewage treatment works. A fifth of it relates to urban transport runoff.
But that stuff that you can deal with will be dealt with by when? I'm just looking at Dave Throop, former Environment Agency official, tweeting a couple of days ago, and he's looking at your map, your newly released map, saying an entirely normal day. He's looking at Thursday, an entirely normal day, but it's too much to cope with. The majority of catchment watercourses are currently being polluted. When will that stop?
Well, we do have a river health plan, and in that river health plan we are committing to reducing the discharges, these storm overflows that happen from our sewage treatment works, by 50% by 2030, and actually by 80% on those watercourses that are sensitive. Now, I know that only really fixes half of the problem by 2030, and there's more to do. But that's the half that we've identified. We've got a plan. We know what to do. We can get on and fix it. When you get beyond 2030, there's more work to do to understand exactly how the drainage system works in these catchments, and to work with others. I mean, we know, for example, you saw yesterday that the government's come out and said that it's going to mandate sustainable drainage solutions. We are hugely supportive of that. That's exactly the right way forward. We're going to have to work with new developers to install sustainable drainage and new developments, slowing the flow. But we need to work with existing landowners and property owners to improve their sustainability as well.
Catherine Ross, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much. Catherine Ross, Thames Water's Director of Strategy.
Let's have a look at the paper.